let the interview begin.
I just know about Five Nights from the distance, and what I heard once this started getting, popular.
Yeah.
The fan of Five Nights compared to this, do you feel like? I mean, obviously there's some things that are similar, but I mean, some fans were kind of pissed. There was a knockoff, et cetera, et cetera. What are your takes?
I know what you're saying. Well, in Willys Wonderland, obviously, Willy's this cursed entity, and obviously, whereas in Five Nights at Freddy's, they are simply animatronics that come to life.
Okay.
So, yeah, they are similar, but they're very different. Because that's more of a cult thing. That's more of a haunting thing, sort of.
Right.
But yeah, they're both very good in their own ways. I love Five Nights at Freddy's. I love this film. So
cool, man. Well, I'm glad to hear it, brother. I'm glad to hear it. It was a lot of fun to make, that's for sure.
I'm glad to hear that. Obviously, because you're sort of the main villain in this story.
Yeah, I'm not a good dude. I think my backstory for him is, he does the wrong things for the right reasons. Maybe that makes sense. He's just a good dude, but he wants to save his hometown, and the only way to do that is to be a bad dude.
Yeah, because when I was watching the film originally, and then you came on and you were this really nice guy, and I was like, oh, cool. He's got a really good relationship with Nick Cage's character. And then that plot twist comes in. It's like, oh, they're all corrupt. But yeah, it was a great watch. And I hear there's talks of a sequel.
Man, we were talking just as actors now, nothing official, but as actors, like Tex and I had a real good rapport, not only on screen, but Rick is a great guy in person. And, we were talking about things like, well, yeah, it'd be really cool. Some sequels, some spinoffs, some, Willys Wonderland, Jet and Tex, maybe, who knows? Because you can go, and they were talking about, talk has been everything, but, what if it turned into a series where you had, Willys Wonderland, the janitor's back, Willys Wonderland, again, I'm just postulating here. I'm not saying that any of this is fact, but yeah, I mean, it's as good as it was going on set, as things were flowing, as we were progressing, and for an independent film, we didn't have studio money. Things moved along. There weren't a lot of hiccups, and it shot real. And I'm being on studio movies myself, shooting with like the Coen brothers on No Country for Old Men, or even Sin City and Robert Rodriguez. Those are studio movies. They got big money. They can, if they miss a day, they'll make it up. But something like this, you have to be, on point. And these guys did such a great job of making this film. My buddy Jeremy Davis, who's one of the producers, who I was in a film with about 11, 12 years ago called SEAL Team 6.
Oh, cool.
Making sure that not only they stay on point, but staying on the creative point of getting the film off the page and into life the way they wanted it.
Yeah,
they did a great job, man. And I think just because of the way it was produced, the potential for something like that, just a personal perspective, is definitely something I could see. And now that the fans are really liking it, I'm kind of paying attention a little bit on Rotten Tomatoes and seeing that the fans, really dig it. That's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. I hope we have a sequel, because the concept is amazing to have it as a film form rather than, obviously, as I said, Five Nights at Freddy's as a game, because you're so immersed, especially with Nicolas Cage not saying a word for the entire film. I was like, he's going to speak now. He's going to speak. Nope. That's some good acting, though, just to go a whole film and just not say a word. It's credit to him, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nick's a cool dude. And, you've had, obviously years of practice, but that concept, that hook, so to speak, can do what it's done, fortunately, or, it can completely backfire. Obviously, if maybe you don't have the right person doing it.
Yeah.
Or, they don't fit into the storyline, or they're not playing to the storyline. But no, Nick knocked it out of the park. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was definitely built for this role. He's just, yeah.
And also, you bring us, I'll say straight lace, but Nick's thing, like at the pinball machine, that's Nick.
Yeah.
That's, with the voguing and stuff, that's just him.
Yeah.
And if you had somebody else maybe who wasn't quite the flavor of Nick Cage trying to do Vogue and stuff like that, I don't know necessarily if it would have worked out. It may have, but when you get something organic like that and it's beautiful like that, you got to keep it, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. It all worked out perfectly, I think, for you guys. And I hope to
Very
see
cool.
every one of you guys. Well, not everyone, because most of the cast died. Oh, wait, no, you died, didn't you? Did you die?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
gonna have to be like a prequel or spinoff kind of thing for me and Tex to stick around. But yeah, you never know, man. Kevin Lewis was great to work with, and he and I have corresponded a few times since then, and maybe something's in the works. But nothing official. I don't know of anything in the works right now, but because of its success, Hollywood, if something's working,
yeah,
you keep feeding it, right?
exactly. And this has definitely got potential for
Cool.
longevity.
Very cool.
So what was it like for you being on the set, obviously, because you obviously went into Willys Wonderland at the end of the film. So what was it like seeing those sets and those parts of the movie?
No, it was great, man. I from beginning to end, from the time I left Hollywood and flew to Atlanta, that's where they shot it. These guys, like I said, they treated it, even though it was an indie film, I felt like the way they treated it, the way the production moved forward and flowed, even though they hit some hiccups, they handled it like pros, like again, like a studio movie. Because I've been on studio movie sets where they had a bunch of money and it still kind of chopped along. But now these guys treated me with respect, and the crew and the cast everybody was. And you hear this on these kind of interviews and junkets. Everybody's great to work with.
Yeah.
The truth, they were great to work with, man. I mean, when you're on a set long enough to kind of as an actor to kind of get into relationships with even the crew. And crew are tough people, man, to try to entertain and stuff.
Yeah.
They see this shit all day, every day. But to be engaged, to engage with these guys and get to know them on a first name basis, that aren't cast and crew, that are there every day with all the cast, they get to see how it all comes together because we all don't shoot together. We don't shoot the same scenes together. They get to kind of see the movie come along. And, when you hear comments that it's working or things, you see them smile or you get something out of them emotionally, something's working. Not necessarily your performance, but something in the movie's working. Because if you can get the crew to respond, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I mean, other than some cold weather, I remember the night I think we shot where the kind of the FBI or the black SUVs roll up with the weapons.
Oh yeah.
It was cold as shit. It was like 21 degrees outside. And other than it being a little cold, man, and actually I lied. There was the other day that we shot the scene in the garage where I'm telling you about the car.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it rained like crazy, and I believe there was a tornado that happened on the way to set. I mean, it got pitch black.
Oh wow.
It was raining sheets of rain, and I just sat in the back seat and hope I wasn't gonna get whipped up in it. But yeah, that was an interesting ride to set that day. I don't know what happened around us, but it seemed like I grew up in Texas, so I know what dark tornado clouds look like, and I don't know if that's exactly what happened there, but there was a lot of moisture in the air that day. But other than the weather, everything went great. I can't. Everybody was cool. I wish I had a story to tell you. And I do have stories that I keep in my back pocket that I don't tell some people, but that happen on set. But no, man. I mean, honestly, everybody was cool. And Nick has his process. He's kind of the janitor throughout. So
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of conversation there, but because he was kind of staying in character the whole time. But yeah,
cool.
man, the experience from the way that you came at me, the way you enjoyed the movie, though I enjoyed making it as much as it seemed like you enjoyed watching it. I promise you, it was a lot of fun.
I think for me, it was obviously I enjoyed it that much, but I didn't even know it was coming out. As soon as it sort of came out of the blue for me, like I randomly saw the trailer, I was like, oh wow, and it was out in like 2 months, and I was like, oh cool. So yeah, it's great to hear that you obviously had a good cast chemistry by the sounds of things.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate you talking about the release. It was supposed to be released on Halloween weekend, and of course,
right.
COVID got the best of us on that. But because it's a horror movie, slasher type movie, it was supposed to be released in theaters on a holiday weekend. But unfortunately, we missed that mark because of you know how the world went in 2020.
Exactly.
But it is good that it did the on demand and as much as get an indie film gets to promote themselves. It's good that the reaction even around the world. Of course, you're not in the United States. You guys are getting at least it's getting in front of you somehow. So
Yeah,
when you saw
exactly.
the trailer. I don't know how you saw the trailer, but you saw the trailer and it enticed you to watch. So that's cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it sort of came up randomly, I think, on YouTube. I was like, cool.
Oh, okay.
So obviously you get the script at the start of a film. Did you know you were going to die at the end?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, okay, right.
I was definitely aware. Yeah, that it was my demise was intimate. Well, and not necessarily I get to play the whole movie, but there at the end, Sarah had other plans for us.
Oh, yes, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a good twist how they kept one of the animatronics alive, and it backfired on you two. So
Yeah, and that's a good plot point for Ride. I'm a Rider as well, and you always for the potential for a project to move forward or on, you got to put, I don't call it an Easter egg, but you've got to put something like that. You got to plant a seed for a producer
yeah,
in case this thing pops off, right? And that's a beautiful seed that was put in there, that just in case Willy's Wonderland is a cult classic, so to speak, then we can see how we can keep the spirit alive. One thing we talked about, just again, me and Tex, this isn't official, but
yeah,
we were sitting in that car in between takes before she blew us up, and like, hey, what about a spinoff? What about a sequel? What if they all died and and then we came back as our spirits were in the animatronics? We were just mouthing off there, but Sarah is obviously still alive, so the spirit of the animatronics being possessed, I guess, could technically live on because of that. So
yeah. Well, you can just rewrite the cycle, couldn't you? Obviously,
yeah,
get the bodies back, kill a few more people. Like, bang, sequel.
yeah, feed them, bring them back to life with the maybe Sarah eats more people than she should, and her energy reanimates the other one.
Exactly.
It's got all kinds of avenues it could go down, definitely. So
Exactly. How long were you on set for then? So how long did your scenes take to film?
So I think the film shot 30 days. I was on set for 14 or 15 of those days, so about half the time.
Cool.
Yeah, I was on set the first half of the film. And what's crazy is I think the day that they shot, Kevin told me, I think the day they shot the day of the last shot is the day they closed down, the world, so to speak, or at least the United States for COVID. So we just slid in under the the COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
I don't know personally if they needed any pickup days per se. A movie like any movie has those moments, especially once they see the dailies and they put the dailies together. And I want to say that maybe they may or may not have had a rough cut by the time they shot the last day, which would have given them an idea as to whether or not they needed some pickup days. But yeah, I know that we actually got all our principal photography days in just in enough time before COVID.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
So not necessarily just for you, but what are some of your favorite parts about the film?
Well, I think the biggest one, and it's probably the biggest one for all the fans, is to be able to take a protagonist, a main character, and him say nothing throughout the film. I mean, the only other film that I've seen that has been successful with that is what is The Pianist? Is that what it was with?
Oh yeah.
Shoot, I can't remember his name. I apologize for having a mind fart. But you're going through the whole movie without speaking to anyone at any time.
Yeah.
He had the advantage of traveling, excuse me, to more than one location. You got a guy in one location all night, the whole movie, who doesn't say anything to anybody. And actually people show up and they try to talk to him and he still doesn't say anything to anybody. So the fact that Nick could maintain that and it be believable and actually entertaining was pretty cool for me. The other part was how they were able to pull off. I know this has been called campy or low budget or whatever, but how they were able to successfully pull off what they did with the slasher parts of the movie with the budget that we were given, and make it believable within that universe. So you didn't skip from inside of Willys to outside of Willys in this small town, and it seemed like two different places. It seemed like Willys lived inside this town, and these people belonged inside this town.
Yeah, of course.
And probably the last part I enjoyed about the movie making in general, not just the movie, is I loved how Kevin Lewis gave us as actors. He allowed us to play in the whole sandbox. You know what I mean? He enjoyed what we all brought to the characters of the movie, but he wasn't too specific. Some directors are very specific on everything you say, when you say it, where you say it, how you say it. But Kevin's like, bro, just let Jed Love entertain me. And as a matter of fact, like that whole part in the truck when we're driving, when I pick his car up and we're driving, all that is improvisation.
Really?
He's like, yeah, just talk about what you think Jed Love would be a part of or what he would enjoy. Now they gave us, I apologize. Let me digress a little bit. There were some anchor lines, but the overall concept of like me enjoying NASCAR and watching those guys drive off the cliff and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
It just came to me. Now it was a few takes that we did of that, but also with improv, you got to remember kind of what you said the last take. So it matches when you edit.
Yeah.
So when you get to rambling, you just got to make sure that your rambling stays kind of in the same lane. But what's cool again with Kevin is he allowed me to ramble or to fully embody the character.
Yeah.
And not be just limited. And I'm not taking anything away from Geo Parsons' words on the page or anything. But as an actor, you enjoy sometimes letting a dog off the chain, if that makes sense. You gotta let him run loose and run wild and just have a bunch of fun. And I might have taken, and I won't lie to you, I might have taken 3 moments of direction or redirection from Kevin throughout the whole time on screen.
Wow, nice.
I mean, so which is great as an actor because one, you're giving the director what they want as a storyteller.
Yeah.
And so your 25 years of practice is counted, so to speak. So when you get to this point, you're like, well, shoot, now the gloves are off and we can have some fun. So yeah, those are some things I enjoyed. Oh,
cool. Very nice. So obviously this is away from Willys. Where would you like to go from now? Film wise or TV wise?
COVID is kind of, it put the kibosh, so to speak, on being able to film, obviously. I've been in auditioning lately for TV shows. I think the last one I auditioned for was, I can't even remember, but the bigger ones here in America on the networks. But what I really got into in COVID is I'm a writer as well. I'm a screenwriter as well. And so because you can't act, you can sit in front of a computer for 24 hours a day. I really hunkered down and got some of my old screenplays polished and rewritten and polished. And then I've been working on a TV pilot based on a Marine sniper.
Oh, nice.
Who retires and comes home to Bisbee, Arizona. And home's not what it used to be. So it's about him kind of fighting the cartel. The cartel comes across the border. So that's the pilot that I'm pitching right now. I polished the pilot and it's pretty ready to go. I've had it ripped apart by, managers and producers. And I've been pitching those guys probably the last 3 to 4 months. And so I really wrote this as a vehicle for myself. I wrote the feature about 10 years ago and I kind of let it put it on the shelf and let it marinate. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I started to think, hey, because of new streaming and all these content providers out there, and now again with COVID and everybody consuming so much content, as an artist, I really wanted to put more meat on the bones of the story. And if I turned it into a series, that would allow me to do so. So nice. I did and converted it, and we've been pitching right now. And so, that's probably my next big thing is to push that as a project for myself as the lead character. Kind of think Frank Castle, which I see. I want to talk to you about that a little bit. Frank Castle kind of meets John Dutton of Yellowstone. I don't know if you watched that show or not, but it's a show about a Montana rancher here in the States. And his biggest thing is to protect his ranch, which is sacred land to me, because I think it goes back like 6 generations. And you've got on one side, you've got the United States government trying to take it away. On the other side, you've got an Indian reservation trying to take that land back, so to speak. And he just wants to protect his land. And that's what my character does. He comes home to this small town, and all he wants to do is protect his land, his home, from these invaders, so to speak. And, narco shows and movies are, they tend to saturate the market. But again, we haven't seen one yet that the cartel decides, okay, I'm finally going to go across the border in person during daylight.
Yeah.
do whatever the fuck I want to do. I'm like, no, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I just wrapped up watching Banshee. I hadn't watched that show on, and that would be a good, what they call comp for Bisbee is the name of my show.
Right.
It's about a dude who comes to a small town that he hasn't been there in a long time, and his job is to protect it as best he can. It is fucking graphic and violent and everything that everybody that likes that kind of stuff enjoys. So yeah, that's the biggest thing I'm pitching right now is doing some of that, and then auditioning on a regular basis as well. So
nice, very cool. I hope that comes into fruition one day, or very soon. Actually.
Oh, and so yeah, on top of that, with the cherry on top, I've done a short film that I'm going to release as a proof of concept for Bisbee that I'll be releasing probably in the next month or two. And then in addition, I see you're a big Punisher fan, or you're a Punisher fan. Frank Castle's my favorite superhero, man.
Oh, really?
He is. It's because he's not a superhero. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I got the idea to campaign to be the next Punisher.
Oh,
and
wow.
so to do that, I took the comic The Cell from Garth Ennis, and I adapted it to a screenplay, and we shot a 24-minute short film of it. And the plan here soon is to kind of get it out there as a fanboy film because Marvel is Marvel. And,
exactly.
But yeah, so I saw that when I was doing a little research here prior to doing this, and I saw you're a Punisher fan, and me too.
Oh, good to hear. I hope that all that comes to fruition. It'd be amazing to see you play the Punisher down the line.
It'd be a lot of fun, man. I know they made 3 movies before with 3 different guys, and then of course John Bernthal did the series, and they get the story right and the character wrong, or they cast the wrong guy, or they cast the right guy and they get this. They haven't found the Kevin Feige magic yet, but now that it's back under his wing, I imagine he's going to make it happen somehow or another. So
yeah, let's hope Chris Warner becomes the next Punisher.
It'd be nice, brother. Yeah, to play a character I like. So, and I look pretty much like. It depends on which comic you pick up. I look like Frank Castle. So,
and you've got the voice as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro.
Cool.
So,
it's always better when you play a character you always enjoy as well, because it makes you want to be the best version of your character as well. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and when we get this out, if you stay in touch, I'll definitely send you the link, or you'll see it out there. I've got the Punisher Project, what we call it. It's on. I've got a Facebook page if you want to check it out.
Oh well, yeah.
But yeah, let me know what you think of the Frank Castle version I created there. But yeah, man, it was a labor of love to start with, and then unfortunately our executive producer who helped me make it passed away, and that unfortunately kind of put it on a shelf for me a little too long. But now I've been talking it up, and the guy who directed it, we've been talking the last 6 months to a year. And when COVID kind of finally slows down, and actually it's this weekend, theaters open back up here in Los Angeles.
Oh, cool, nice.
We're gonna try to do a screening for the people, the cast and crew, and then try to eventually get it out there to at least release it. I don't think we'll be able to go to festivals because, again, I truly adapted it. About 90% of the dialogue is from the book, so it's a true fan film. It's nothing I can make money off of, and I didn't want to. The purpose of it was to be kind of a proof of concept to show that I could play the character, or I could give a version of the character. Some people, if you're truly dedicated to a character, there'll be people that don't like Chris Warner as the Punisher, which is okay. I get it. But,
yeah, but I think it's one of those things. Yes, we've had like Ben Affleck, we've had, as you said, John Bernthal. They've all been great versions. So what's to say, for example, what's to say you can't be any better and bring more of a diverse version of the Punisher? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
we've had a million Batmans and Supermans. Why not a few more Punishers?
Right. And Jokers and good, it's and it's cool for fans I know, back when they started doing this kind of thing, most fans wanted to stay true to whoever was originally cast, obviously. But it is amazing how, nowadays they've gone so far as to, like the Flash. I mean, you got the Flash in the feature and you got the Flash in the TV show happening at the same time. We're not even waiting.
Exactly. And they've crossed over as well with each other, haven't they? So it's
Yeah.
It's just crazy what you can do in modern day.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, throughout your career, what's some of your favorite roles you've played then?
Probably the funnest role was the one you just watched. Jed Love was a lot of fun to play.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, he was a character that his lane was wide. Some characters I played, their lanes are very narrow, and you got to be that character. Another character I enjoyed playing was Bozo number 3 is the name of the character in Sin City. That was a lot of fun, you know. And not only being the character, but being on the set and being part of that whole storytelling mechanism. Because when I was there, we shot it on total green screen. The floor was painted green, the walls, everything was green on, and you see those sets, like when we're driving down the street, Alexis Bledel, they set the car on the green screen soundstage, and they took an old treadmill, they took the handles off of it, they painted completely green.
Oh.
And they had a guy laying on the floor rolling a handle mechanically as she walked on it next to us. And then all the atmosphere was put in after. And just to be a part of what it was, what we were doing to make the film, and then to see the film after, and what Robert did, it was ridiculous. I mean, it blew my mind as much as it did the people who saw the movie the first time. I was like, holy shit, Robert, that's wow. And he's definitely a cool filmmaker. One day we were on set and we were sitting at the Video Village watching a take. I was not in that scene at that time. And his process is very interesting. He's trying to think about the setup of the scene, and he comes over and he keeps his guitar on set all the time. And so he grabs the guitar and he's looking down at the floor, and he's kind of just playing a few chords, walking around, looking at the floor, you can tell the wheels are turning. And all of a sudden, about 20 seconds later, he puts the guitar back on and walks back to set. Oh. So he was looking for something creatively. And it was just cool to sit there and watch him do what he does, to see an artist in his process. So, playing Bozo number 3 in Sin City was a lot of fun. And then the character I played in No Country for Old Men, I might have been the only comic relief in that whole movie.
Oh, really?
But it was a flatbed truck driver who Tommy Lee Jones pulls over, and he's mad about how I've kind of tied down the bodies in the back of my flatbed truck. And, the backstory I created for that character, because it was a pretty short scene. I think it was 6 or 8 lines. Yeah. Obviously, Tommy Lee Jones. And the backstory I created for that character was he was actually Tommy Lee Jones's nephew. And he's kind of a fuck up. And my character's mother had died. So Tommy Lee, or the sheriff, my uncle, had told her on her deathbed he would make sure that he'd watch out after me. Yeah. But even though he promised her that, it doesn't mean I still wasn't kind of a fuck up. So that his anger, I think, for me, his anger comes from me embarrassing him yet again, So he's angry. I'm just being me, And I think that played real well on screen. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to just kind of be that, as we call it here, and we call in Texas, a good old boy attitude who just doesn't give a shit. I mean, he paid me $100. Say he paid me $100 to go get those bodies, and I'm probably going to get drunk on that $100 that night. So, that was the kind of the backstory I created for that character. So nice. Yeah, those are probably my top 3 that I've played so far.
Awesome. That's really cool. So I want to ask you one last question. So sure. What would you say is some of your arguably personal achievements that you feel like you've achieved throughout your time as an actor or screenwriter, as you said?
Wow. I'll give you a couple here, maybe 3. The first probably is becoming an actor. I wasn't a thespian as a child. I played Santa Claus in the 5th grade. I played Santa Claus in the 12th grade. And these were all kind of class projects. They weren't part of the, theater arts program. Yeah. And I was an athlete in high school. I played high school Texas high school football, and through the shot put, that kind of stuff. And I was going to be a physical therapist when I went to college. And I was on my path to do that. I was going to school, working in a physical therapy facility and stuff. And then I was talking to one of the therapists one day at lunch, and I'd always loved movies. I've been a big fan of movies since I was a kid. And I told her this. I said, I watched some movie. I can't remember what it was, but I walked out wanting my money back. And I'm like, And now as an actor, I don't say this too much, but I'm like, how fucking hard could that be, man? I mean, you learn some lines, to say this or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe I'm gonna try my hand at that, because I've always been a cut up and a smart ass. I just never kind of entertained people in a formal setting. And she's like, you thought about acting? I'm like, yeah. So I found out most of her friends were actors and in the film business. And I started in Austin, Texas. So I started hanging out with her, taking classes, and sure enough, I found my calling. So my purpose at like 28 years old.
Oh, wow.
So that's probably the biggest thing, is how'd you get into acting? Well, I wasn't dancing and singing at 3. It took a while for it to catch on, but it's definitely the only thing I do where I never watch my clock. When I'm writing or I'm on set, I'm like, oh my God, are we going to go home yet? It is truly being in the moment, so to speak.
Oh,
probably
nice.
The second thing too is getting to Los Angeles. I had put getting to Los Angeles on my calendar 2 years in a row, and had missed it. And finally, some things happened personally that that knocked me down actually pretty good. Not lifting me up like, oh, you're on a wave up. Oh no, I'm on the fucking bottom almost. And me coming to Los Angeles grew out of that. It's like, well, where else can I go? Why don't I just make the leap now? And as a young adult, I've always been the kind of guy to go grab opportunity. I want to think that part of that was from my mom, because that's what she did. And she never really taught me that. I just observed it in her life. And then my high school coaches, those guys were, they were big on competitiveness and moving forward, making progress with every breath, with every step, so to speak. So that kind of became part of my DNA. And you don't run into your average artist isn't necessarily there. Your average artist kind of does their art when they're inspired. But to be a professional, you kind of have to have a little bit of that edge. And then finally, from this moment, grew me coming out to Los Angeles. And actually halfway out to Los Angeles, there was a moment on the second night I was on the road that happened that literally was, I'm not going to lie to you, man. It was one of those, I heard basically the voice of God or the spirit coming through me that said, keep going, because something happened on the road that would have made most people turn the fuck around.
Oh, right.
And when that moment happened, I just paused and there was silence. And all I heard was keep going, keep going, keep going. And I did. I had never been to Los Angeles before. Everything I owned was in a U-Haul. And when I saw the skyline of Los Angeles was the first time I'd ever seen it. Now, my wife had come out here and kind of, her and a friend had kind of done some recon on finding a place to live, but I'd never seen Los Angeles or been here. Yeah. So that's how serious I was about making this my career, so to speak. And
nice.
And so, yeah, those are probably two of the bigger moments when I actually became or decided to become a professional actor. And then when I hit the skyline of Los Angeles were two pretty big moments. And actually, I'll leave you with one more, and I know you gotta go, but I call it my limo moment. And so when I shot No Country for Old Men back in 04, 05, they flew me out to El Paso, and then we drove 3.5 hours to Marfa, Texas, across West Texas desert.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, same process. Came home, flew home to LA, and they had a car waiting for me, just like you see in the movies. Guy's got my last name holding up in front of him. And I said, hey, I'm Chris Warner. She goes, oh, okay, Mr. Warner. Over there, I think she's waiting on someone else. And I guess no one else came. So this lady escorted me outside to the car, and there was a limo waiting for me, a stretch limo.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, shit, nice, I guess they were waiting, I guess there were additional folks. So I'm not going to put that Chris Warner was bigger than Chris Warner was at that point in time. But at this point in time, there was a limo waiting for me. So I got in the limo, and it was all just me in the back seat. Oh. So we take off from LAX, and there's a route that drivers take from Hollywood to LAX when you go that way. And I've ridden that route a few times, and it's not your typical freeway route. But for whatever reason, this driver chose to take a freeway route to take me home. And I lived in Hollywood at that time.
Right.
Hollywood proper, right in the middle of it all, four blocks away from the Dolby Theater. So he starts going up what's called the 105 to the 110 to the 101, which is the real long way through downtown to get to Hollywood. And I'm like, wow, what's he doing? So whatever. I mean, I'm enjoying my ride. And I'm one of those guys that try to live in the moment. So I took my time. I looked around, there's the Jack Daniels right there in front of me. I took that moment in, right? And but I got on the phone with my wife. I'm like, hey, check this out. And as I'm coming up the 101, which is the last stretch, right before we get the exit to Hollywood, I look up and I see the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
And I tell anybody this, whether they're actors or whoever they are, enjoy your moments. Celebrate your victories. I don't give a fuck how small they are, right? So when I look out the window, I see the Hollywood sign. I'm an actor coming off a film that ends up winning the Academy Award in a limo in Hollywood, seeing the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm a writer, I couldn't have written that script, but I made sure I was present enough to make sure that I remembered that moment. And so, yeah, that's a very, I call a limo moment I put in my back pocket. Those are the moments you keep. So when you're not getting cast and the no's in Hollywood are silent, which means nothing happens.
Yeah.
You just don't get a call. Or, you know, you get your 35th rejection of the script that you spent 10 years writing. Those are the moments you have to pull out and think about it. Like, all right, man, keep going. Those are the keep going moments for yourself.
Yeah.
It was a really cool moment. And I was on the phone with my wife. You know, we kind of shared a moment there, but it was really cool because it does take a lot to get to, not only get to where you are, but to stay here. This place could do a great job on trying to run you off. So yeah, those are probably 3 big moments in my career that I can really hang my hat on, so to speak. And
nice. That's really cool to hear. I'm glad that you embrace every moment throughout your career. It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm glad everything worked out for you as well. So
I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, it's the only thing I know to do. I got to keep going. That's all I can do.
Yeah, I hope to see you in many more things.
Having platforms like you're providing me here, you know, helps the world get to know who Chris Warner is. You know, I mean, I don't know how many people, and I got a couple of buddies in London, but I don't know how many people, you know, around the world know who I am necessarily. So I appreciate you having me on. Absolutely.
Yeah, no worries. I wanted to speak to people from the film, and obviously you're one of the main focuses of the film, and it's been great chatting with you. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you. It's been great.
Yeah. You got any other questions for me in general, or?
No, I've asked everything. If you want to say anything, or do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I've got these 2 short films, the Bisbee Proof of Concept, which is based on a TV show that I've written, and then the Punisher Project is what I call it, the short fan base film I have. I hope to have those out hopefully in the next 6 months. And then, but if anything you want to know about me or my career, definitely you and your fans, you've already researched it, but the Chris Warner, THEChrisWarner.com is where you can find out. That's all my socials and stuff, and find out what I've been in and what I'm working on. But yeah, just keep the pedal to the metal. That's what I want to do for 2021. Try to make up a little bit for 2020 and
Yes.
see what comes out the other end, man. Definitely.
Nice. I hope everything comes good for you, and hopefully we'll see you in a sequel or prequel or spin-off one day.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate it, Adam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too as well. It's been great chatting with you, and I hope you have a good day, Chris.
You too, brother. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.